And now, it's Boomer Life, lifestyle discussion designed to make your life more engaging, meaningful, and complete. Celebrating the baby boomer generation, this is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
Well, good morning and welcome to Boomer Life here on CIL 650. I'm Sterling Fox, joined in studio by Dr. Amin Javert from Falls Creek Healthcare Center in Vancouver. Dr. Javert, welcome to Boomer Life.
Good morning. Thank you. Welcome.
It's good to have you with us. It's allergy season. It's awfully early this year. You are an otolaryngologist. You're an ear, nose, and throat guy who specializes in sinuses, correct?
Correct.
Everything related to the nose.
Correct.
So you're precisely the right doctor to have in here to talk about allergy season, and we'll get into all sorts of other sinus-related issues. But I'm not allergic to anything, doctor, but I am, like I guess most people, somewhat pollen sensitive, and I've been sneezing like crazy these last couple of weeks. Is that just because it's in the air?
Yes, absolutely. It's in the air. This year we've had a really mild winter.
Yes.
And we've had a very early bloom of all the flowers, and that has resulted in a lot of people suffering from allergies. And even those who are not classified as allergic are also sensitized at some point in their lives to the pollen in the air.
Right.
So you get the itchy eyes and the itchy nose, and it usually passes as the pollens sort of get less as time passes. And a lot of us are allergic to grasses as well. There's a lot of grasses growing right now. So there is a whole factor to go with just grass allergens.
Right.
And currently there's a lot of grass growing, and until about mid-June to late June, you'll have a lot of grass allergens in the air, or grass pollen in the air.
So what technically, without getting too medical on us, but what technically is an allergy, doctor?
So your body fights the allergen, the antibody. You actually fight the antibody that you're breathing through your nose. So what you get is a particle, a grass particle that you breathe into your nose, and your body recognizes it as a foreign substance or a foreign object, and then tries to fight it. And what you get there is a bit of inflammation. And it's a whole process. The allergy process is a whole process that your body goes through and releases all sorts of inflammatory mediators and cytokines, and I can go into all sorts of detail.
Does the grass that you've got up your nose that's causing all of this in the first place have something in it too that reacts negatively to your body?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
That's the allergen.
Ah.
That is actually the allergen. So you could have you could be allergic to anything.
Okay.
And if you're allergic to that particular thing, for instance, cat hair, if you go into a room with a cat in it, you'll feel it immediately.
Your eyes water up?
Immediately.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's because that cat hair has the allergen that your body is reacting to.
Okay.
So you get a reaction to that cat hair, and you get inflammation. And that is what causes all the itchiness, the stuffiness, the congestion, the watery eyes, the runny eyes. It's all from that allergic reaction.
I find when I sneeze, I don't just sneeze. I sneeze 7 times. It seems to be there's a pattern that you go for hours and then all of a sudden you sneeze 7 or 8 times.
Correct.
And is that what's the body trying to do with that sequential number of sneezes?
Yeah. Your body is essentially trying to get rid of the allergen.
Okay.
That's the bottom line. The body is trying everything it can to get rid of the allergen. So sneezing is just one action. So you're blowing out all these allergens out of your system.
Right.
But then your body produces a lot of mucus, again trying to wash out the allergen.
Right.
It closes down, right? You get congestion, so it plugs you up so it doesn't get more allergen in. So the body goes through a whole bunch of responses to stop the allergen from going into your system and trying to wash it out as quickly as possible.
Right.
That's why your eyes water and your nose waters.
It's just your body's attempt to cleanse all of this stuff, this foreign stuff out of it.
Correct.
So what is a typical treatment for a person who actually, unlike me, who's a little sensitive to pollen, like most of us, I guess, are, but a person who's actually quite seriously allergic to something?
Right. So for you and me, anti-inflammatories work great. So we use like nasal steroids, sprays, steroid eye drops. We use antihistamines, which actually stop the reaction from happening.
Okay.
So that actually stops the actual reaction in its tracks. So
and these
progress.
are products we can buy at the drugstore.
Yeah.
This isn't prescription stuff, is it?
No,
Okay.
these are the regular antihistamines and things.
Gotcha. Okay.
what you were just referring to as a bad allergy
Yes.
is when you get an anaphylactic reaction. So let's say somebody is allergic to peanut, right? And they get exposed to peanut. And what happens in that case is your body goes through a very major reaction. You get tongue swelling, your throat swells up, your face swells up, and it can swell to the point where it can actually shut down your airway.
Right.
So you can actually die from an allergic reaction. So in that situation, you need to take something like epinephrine, which is a very strong drug to reverse that and to stop it from continuing.
So this is why people with those sort of severe allergies, like peanuts and maybe shellfish,
Correct.
carry an EpiPen with
Correct.
them. So I have a friend who's allergic to shellfish, and we were just out socializing one night just a few years ago, and he's very aware and very conscious about everything he eats. But somehow or another, something with a shellfish component was he ate some of it,
Correct.
and boy, the EpiPen was out, and he was in tough shape within
Correct.
10 minutes.
Yes.
It doesn't take
It doesn't
long.
take long. You have to be very careful.
So, so that's the extreme reaction.
Correct.
So what I'm trying to remember now is when I was young, I got tested for allergies.
Correct.
And I went to a specialist, and I was scratched. I guess probably half a dozen or more times. And what is that about?
So it's essentially a skin prick test.
Yes.
So they actually scratch your skin and apply the different allergens on each one of those scratches. So they test you against grass and flowers and bees and whatever else. You can test for a variety of things, fungus and all sorts of stuff.
Right.
And then one of them is a positive test. So they do a positive histamine test to make sure that you actually have a response, so that if you have a response in that one positive test, which all of us should have a positive response to, then you should respond to everything else. And then you can pick out what you're allergic to. So let's say you were just allergic to cat and nothing else.
Okay.
Then the best treatment for it is to just avoid cats.
Right.
So
right.
that's easy.
Right, it is.
Yeah. But if you're allergic to 12 things, then it's really hard to avoid 12 things in the environment.
Right.
So then you start treating it with medications like we were talking about, nasal sprays and
Sure.
pills and things like that, because you can't get shots or avoid so many things. But if you had just cat allergy, you could actually get immunotherapy. You could get shots towards cat allergy, and you can get treated towards that.
I know a veterinarian who's allergic to cats. Talk about an interesting career choice for that particular gentleman,
Yeah,
but he takes shots.
Yeah.
So that's how he can work with.
Correct.
Well, he worked on my cat once upon a long time ago, and it was because I remember him telling me that, and I thought, "What on earth are you doing in this
Yeah.
business?" I love animals, he
Yeah.
says. I get around it,
Yeah.
and so that's what we do. We
Yeah.
just find ways to cope with these.
Correct. And allergy shots are very successful when you're allergic to just one thing.
Okay.
It works really well. It doesn't work so well when you're allergic to 20 different things.
Is an allergy or an allergic condition, doctor, treatable? Or I suppose it's treatable. We've talked about that, but the word I'm after is curable. Can one become cured of allergies, or is something it's baggage you carry for the rest of your life?
Correct. It's controllable, but not curable. So you can, if somebody has a broken nose, for instance, and they also have allergies, they have a double whammy. So their nose gets plugged up in the allergy season, plus they have a broken nose so they can't breathe. We can fix their broken nose,
Right.
but we can't fix their allergies.
Sure.
So they might feel better during the non-allergy season, but during the allergy season, they'll still get plugged up because they'll react to the allergens in the environment.
Our guest on this episode of Boomer Life is Dr. Armin Javert. He's with Falls Creek Healthcare Center in Vancouver, and also, I should add, the director of the St. Paul's Sinus Center at St. Paul's Hospital on Burrard Street. How long have you been there?
Since I came back from my fellowship, which was in 2000.
Okay, and you started at Falls Creek and at St. Paul's almost simultaneously,
Yeah.
didn't you?
Yeah, almost.
So
simultaneously.
describe the difference between the work you do at St. Paul's versus what you do at Falls Creek Healthcare Center.
Yeah, essentially it's the same work, except that at St. Paul's we do the big tertiary cases, sinus tumors, sinus cancers, really difficult cases.
Right.
Patients who can't have their surgeries done outside of the hospital because of other conditions that they might have, like heart conditions or, other diseases that they might have. At Falls Creek, we do mostly sinus work.
Right.
So chronic sinusitis is a big part of what I do. 16% of the population suffers from chronic sinusitis, which is a very big number. And our wait lists at St. Paul's are quite large, so the overflow is sometimes done at Falls Creek, and that's where we do most of that work.
We are approximately 34 million Canadians. So 16% of 34 million people is a lot of patients. I had no idea that large segment of the Canadian population is affected by chronic sinusitis.
Correct.
So by way of educating ourselves, doctor, what on earth is chronic sinusitis?
All right. So chronic sinusitis develops after an acute sinus episode, which usually happens after a common cold. So most of us get a common cold and we get better.
Sure.
99.5% of us get better after a common cold. But about 0.5 to 1% of us actually don't get better and get a sinus infection. It's called a sinusitis or an acute sinusitis. In most of us, in 99% of us who get an acute sinusitis, it resolves. But in 1% of those patients, they get chronic sinusitis, which means it doesn't resolve. If a sinus episode lasts more than 12 weeks, by definition, you have chronic sinusitis.
Okay, and a sinus episode, how would I know I'm experiencing a sinus episode?
Pain, pressure, obstruction, discharge, and sense of smell going away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
PODS, if you remember the term PODS. Pain, pressure, obstruction, discharge, smell.
Okay.
So if you get those things affected and those things happening to you, then you know that you have an episode of sinusitis happening. If you have a cold, you might feel unwell, you might have a discharge, you might cough and hack for 5 days, 7 days, and then it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But people who get sinusitis, it doesn't go away. It lasts beyond the 7-day mark. And if it lasts beyond the 7-day mark, the mucus gets colored, patients get sicker, they can't get out of bed, they get acutely ill. They miss work.
Right.
That's when they've got an acute sinusitis episode.
Okay, and this is something that has lasted longer than 12 weeks, unchanged.
Correct. If it gets beyond 12 weeks, then they've got chronic sinusitis.
Okay.
The problem is once it gets beyond 12 weeks, it's unlikely that you're ever going to get better with medical management.
So you're going to need surgery?
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
So I guess, though, and you've surprised me with this information that such a large segment of the Canadian population has something called chronic sinusitis. And I would imagine that, like a lot of other people, I'm struggling with that in terms of how to deal with it, because it sounds like kind of a really bad head cold that just won't ever go away. But I think I'm short selling it. It seems to be, by the expression on your face, it seems to be more serious than a really bad head cold.
Yeah, it is actually a very difficult condition for people to deal with. The quality of life for patients with chronic sinusitis is considered to be worse than heart disease, worse than diabetes, worse than hypertension. This is a very difficult disease for patients to deal with. I mean, imagine you having a chronically stuffed up nose,
Right.
not able to breathe, unable to concentrate, chronic discharge going down the back of your throat, chronic dull headaches, not able to sleep at night.
I was just going to say that would be the killer for me.
Chronically fatigued.
Yeah.
So you can imagine that your life will come to a standstill.
Well, plus you begin to wear out once you don't sleep well. A lot of it triggers a lot of other negative things because
Correct.
your resistance component drops because you're not well enough rested to have your body actively able to combat whatever this foreign agent is.
Correct. And the other thing with sinusitis is because it's connected to the lower airway. It's just one airway. We call it the United Airways because the upper airway is connected very closely to the lower airway,
Okay.
which are your lungs.
Okay.
And it's one mucous membrane. So if you get inflammation in the sinuses, eventually you're going to get inflammation in your lungs. So a lot of these patients will get adult onset asthma, which is a big deal for them. And if you still don't correct it, eventually you're going to get bad lung disease. So chronic sinusitis can end up becoming really bad for you over time if you don't deal with it.
Is there a typical age, doctor, at which a person is more susceptible to getting chronic sinusitis than at any other? And are men or women equally susceptible, or is it slightly balanced in favor of one of the genders?
So that's a great question because there are subclasses of chronic sinusitis. There is a particular subclass called fungal sinusitis. We call it allergic fungal sinusitis, but it's not a true allergy in the sense that we were talking about just now. What it is a reaction of the body to the fungal spores that you breathe in.
Oh, right.
Now,
Okay.
out of the 15% of the Canadian population that has chronic sinusitis, only about 10% of those have fungal sinusitis. And interestingly, that particular group is focused more towards young women.
Interesting.
And we don't know why. We have no idea why. But it's usually teenage women from barely between 15 years to 25 years.
And you'd be looking for environmental common denominators to
Correct.
why that particular age group, and you haven't found anything
No,
yet.
we think it's several things. You know, women in that age group develop differently than guys. They have all sorts of different hormonal levels going on in their
Of course,
system.
yeah.
So it could be a variety of factors, but we don't know why it affects women more than men at that age group. In general, if you took the whole group, then women are a bit more affected than men.
Interesting
Yeah,
stuff.
about 60-40.
Our guest on this episode of Boomer Life from Falls Creek Healthcare Center in Vancouver is Dr. Amin Javer. It's allergy season. We're talking about, well, everything related to our noses and our sinuses, and boy, there's an awful lot to talk about left. So stay with us, and we'll be right back after this quick timeout.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.